Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Malicious Compliance Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and help me get to my goal of 10,000 subscribers. In our first story, the day I lit an ambulance on fire. Let's jump right in. Several years ago, I was working as an EMT for a small private ambulance company which contracted primarily as a transportation service. The ambulance company employed a pair of mechanics that did regular maintenance on each unit and fixed problems when they came up. The company's CEO was pretty stingy when it came to money, so the rigs were old and a lot of the mechanics' spare time went towards restoring the Impala owned by the CEO's son. I wasn't well liked by the owners and management for one reason or another, but I suspect it's because I frequently spoke my mind. This means that I was tasked with the worst trucks on the worst shifts. One day, my partner and I were dispatched to a scheduled patient transfer from a long-term rehabilitation facility to their home. On our way to the facility, our ambulance overheated and we were forced to pull over. Dispatch was notified and we were told to let them know when the truck cooled so we could get back to work. An hour later, the truck was still hotter than I'd like, and I let dispatch know that we needed a new unit. Their solution was to have us drive back and swap our gear into a fresh unit to finish our shift. We would need to drive across town to get back to dispatch, so I let them know that it would take a while as we needed to pull over every time the engine overheated. Little else was discussed, and we started back. I figured I'd stick to the smaller side roads and take my time avoiding the freeways for the safety of ourselves and other drivers sharing the road. I should also mention that every ambulance has a GPS reporting system that reports all of our telemetry, so we're tracked every moment of every day. The moment we pass the first entrance to the freeway, the dispatch manager, we'll call her Mary, calls us on the radio and angrily asks us to explain why we're not following instructions. I opted to give her a phone call to settle this and not have a long drawn-out discussion on the public airwaves. Mary accuses my partner and I of wasting time and milking the situation so we wouldn't have to take our share of calls. Mary goes on to say that our intentions were obvious since we're not taking the freeway, and as such, when we got back to dispatch, we would be dismissed for the remainder of the day without pay, and they would investigate to see if further disciplinary actions would be needed. I tried to let her know that driving on the freeway was unsafe and I would have to stop more frequently, but she wouldn't hear it and told me to get back as fast as possible, no more delays. Cue malicious compliance. Our patient monitoring equipment is incredibly expensive, and management has stated in the past that if we break it, we're on the hook to replace it. So I tell my partner to pack it all up and put it just inside the side door because I wasn't sure what would happen, but chances were good that we'd need to grab it quickly and make a run for it. So, as directed, we turn around and head back to the freeway entrance at full speed. I think we made it to the end of the freeway merging line when the temperature gauge started to redline and we had another 12 miles to go. The further I drove, the hotter the engine got and it started to produce white smoke. Lightly at first, then heavier as we approached the big hill just before our freeway exit. Several cars were passing us and honking their horns to alert us of our peril, but there was no stopping this train. We were filling up the lanes behind us with smoke and the smell was wretched, but the ambulance was still running. As we made it to the top of the hill, the engine cut out and lost all power. Smoke was pouring out of the sides of the hood, but my vision wasn't compromised, so I coasted it over to the shoulder and got it as far off the road as I could safely manage. Once I threw it into park, flames erupted from the engine. I told my partner to get as much equipment evacuated as she could, and I grabbed the fire extinguisher. As I'm trying to put out the fire, my partner is on the phone letting dispatch know that we were forced to stop because our ambulance was on its way to a fiery death. I guess at this point our situation had received enough attention that someone had called 911 and the fire department was dispatched, but they pulled up on the opposite side of the freeway, watching to make sure that things didn't spiral out of control. We were sure to let dispatch know that the fire department had also arrived. Shortly after our call, the CEO's son showed up in his Impala to pick up the equipment as well as myself and my partner. He was on the phone trying to get a flatbed tow truck out as fast as possible so his smoking ambulance could be removed from public view as quickly as possible. The unit was picked up and towed back to the garage, all while the fire department sat and watched. My partner and I were still sent home for the rest of the day. I celebrated the early start to my weekend with a few drinks, and nothing else ever came of it. That unit was retired and never saw service after that, but the mechanics said they owed me a beer, I guess, because I brought the end to the worst rig in the fleet, and they no longer needed to provide upkeep on it. Story number 2. Don't touch the jukebox! I'm a bartender at a little hole-in-the-wall watering hole with a very regular and very loyal customer base. I had last night off, so I met up with a friend at another bar for a few drinks and some food. After supper, we decided to walk to the bar I work at to cap off the evening. We get there and there is a good energy going on. The music is a bit louder than usual and there is maybe 10 patrons in the bar. We have this one customer who is extremely wealthy, and it's nothing for him to spend $200 to $400 per night, multiple times a week, buying everyone rounds. As such, he's treated like royalty around there. So I'm sitting there having a really good time, enjoying a beer, and decide that I want to add a song to the jukebox. I grab a $5 bill and walk over, only to notice 63 credits showing on the screen. No big deal, I think. I'll just put my $5 in, request a few songs, and leave the 63 credits untouched. But no. Our wealthy regular, let's call him Jack, sees me perusing the jukebox and comes up and physically pushes me away from it. I ask him what the flip he thinks he's doing. He says those are his credits and no one is allowed to touch the jukebox until he's used them up. I point out that I have my own $5 and no intention of using any of his credits. Nope, not good enough. No one is allowed to touch it till he's done with them. I know it's not worth arguing, so I step back and he starts requesting songs till he's used up every single credit. Each song costs 2 to 5 credits, so he put in a lot of songs. Each song gives you the option to pay an extra 2 credits to have your song played next, but I noticed he wasn't using it. This particular brand of jukebox has an accompanying phone app. I didn't have it downloaded prior to last night, but I do now. I calmly sat down at my table with my friend and put my plan in motion. I go to the App Store, find the app, download, install it, create an account, and purchase $10 worth of credits. I request 2 songs and pay the extra 2 credits to fast-track them. I sit there in quiet anticipation, and I can see that Jack is starting to get into a groove with the music he's requested, Vietnam rock. His heart gloriously sinks when Bomb 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 by Sam and the Womp comes on. No big deal, guys, his song must be next. Nope, it's Wannabe by the Spice Girls. He sits down dejected. I quickly purchase another $20 in credits and request Baby by Justin Bieber, Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin, Axel F by Crazy Frog, Foil by Weird Al Yankovic, and fast track every one of them. Partway through Foil, I notice Jack sulking in his chair, so I purchase another $20 in credits and proceed to request Never Going to Give You Up by Rick Astley, Who Let the Dogs Out, Barking Mad Remix by Baha Men, Numa Numa by Ozone, Pas Parle Americano by Yolando Be Cool, and Star Wars Cantina March by John Williams. They're starting to realize something is up, so Jack and a few staff who were on last night convene at the jukebox to try to figure it out. At this point, the Cantina March is playing. They turn the jukebox off, then back on again. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. They turn it off, then back on. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Each time picking up where it left off. I can't hold my laughter and let out a muted chuckle. One of my coworkers catches on and comes over with her phone in her hand with the app open and shoves it in my face with a "How flipping dare you?" yada yada yada. I quietly get up, down my last mouthful of beer, put my jacket on, and walk out without a word. I walk down the street to a greasy spoon that our staff and customers are regulars at due to proximity. I sit down, order a beer and a burger, and proceed to log back into the app. I purchased another $10 worth of credits and fast track All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey, and Mickey by Tony Basil as one last bite me to Jack. I can only imagine the fallout I'm going to face Monday afternoon when I show up to work, but whatever. My $40 was no less valid than his, and no one customer gets to commandeer the tunes for the entire night and physically block anyone else from touching it. Side note, yes, I did realize partway through my shenanigans that I could have just requested What's New Pussycat by Tom Jones multiple times, but by then I was in too deep. Here's an update. I showed up for my shift tonight, same co-workers were there, Jack was there, no one said anything to me, not even Jack. In fact, Jack even bought me a shot tonight. Sorry to be anticlimactic, but it doesn't look like anything is going to happen. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.